Destroyed by drugs. That's what the headline screamed. But the truth behind Marvin Gaye's downfall is far more heartbreaking. You see that smooth voice singing, "What's Going On?" That same man would die on April 1st, 1984, shot by his own father. The world lost one of music's greatest voices in the most shocking way possible. But this isn't just another sad celebrity story. This is about a man whose childhood pain created the most beautiful music you've ever heard. Marvin Pence Gaye Jr. was born on April 2nd, 1939. He would become the voice of a generation. But long before he sang about love and healing, he was just a scared little boy trying to survive his own home. His father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was a Pentecostal minister. You'd think a man of God would be gentle with his children. You'd be wrong. Marvin Sr. ruled his house with an iron fist and a leather belt. He belonged to a strict religious group called the House of God. They had rigid rules for everything. Marvin's sister Jean remembered their childhood as a series of brutal whippings. Missing a hairbrush meant a beating. Coming home 1 minute late meant a beating. By age 12, Marvin said there wasn't an inch on his body that hadn't been bruised by his father. The worst part? Marvin thought his father enjoyed hurting him. His dad would make him take off his clothes and listen to the sound of the belt buckle before the beating started. This psychological torture was almost worse than the physical pain. The abuse was so bad that all the children wet their beds. And guess what happened when they did? More beatings. It was a cruel cycle that never ended. You might wonder why young Marvin would constantly provoke his father. As his sister observed, "It seems crazy, right? But for a child starving for attention, even angry attention feels like love. Even pain feels like being noticed." This abuse shaped everything about Marvin's personality. His father also cross-dressed, which led to neighborhood bullying. That's actually why Marvin added an E to his last name when he got famous. He wanted to distance himself from his father's reputation. Here's the heartbreaking part. Despite everything his father did to him, Marvin named his own son Marvin III to keep up with tradition. Even after all that pain, he still craved his father's approval. The only bright spot in young Marvin's life was his mother, Alberta. She gave him the love and comfort he desperately needed. But this made his father even more jealous and angry. The violence wasn't new to the Gaye family. Marvin Sr. had grown up with an abusive father too. His wife Alberta even called it gays against gays because of all the fighting in his family. This doesn't excuse what he did to Marvin, but it shows how pain gets passed down from one generation to the next. As Marvin grew up and became successful, his childhood trauma followed him everywhere. In the late 1970s, he started using cocaine and PCP heavily. People saw this as weakness, but it was really his way of numbing decades of pain. His drug use got worse and worse. He became paranoid and depressed. By 1980, he owed the IRS over $4.5 million. That's like $17 million today. Facing prison time, he fled to Europe. Something amazing happened during his exile in Belgium. Away from all the pressure and triggers, Marvin got sober. His clear mind allowed him to create again. He recorded Sexual Healing, one of his biggest hits. The album Midnight Love proved he was still a musical genius. But when he returned to America for his final tour in 1983, the pressure broke him again. He hated touring, and the stress sent him right back to cocaine. During the tour, his paranoia reached frightening levels. He wore a bulletproof vest everywhere, convinced someone was trying to kill him. After the tour ended, Marvin moved back into his parents' house. He said he wanted to care for his mother and make peace with his father. But living with his abuser again was like pouring gasoline on a fire. His mental state got worse every day. He became erratic and deeply depressed. He talked about dying constantly and was afraid to leave his room. He wore 3 coats at once and put his shoes on the wrong feet. 4 days before his death, he tried to jump out of a moving car. His sister Jean was clear about what she saw. There was no doubt Marvin wanted to die. He couldn't take any more. On Christmas Day, 1983, Marvin did something that still sends chills down people's spines. Driven by his own paranoia about intruders, he gave his father a Smith & Wesson .38 special pistol. This gun would become the weapon that ended his life. The final confrontation happened on April 1st, 1984. His parents were fighting about a missing insurance policy letter. When his father started yelling at his mother, Marvin told him to leave her alone. At 12:30 in the afternoon, the argument got physical. Marvin shoved his father into the hallway and started hitting him. His mother begged him to stop, but he wouldn't listen. His sister Jean had warned everyone years before, if any of them ever hit their father, he would murder them. He had said this publicly many times. Everyone in the family knew this rule. 8 minutes later, Marvin Sr. walked into his bedroom, grabbed the gun his son had given him, and shot Marvin directly in the heart. Then he fired a second shot at point-blank range. Marvin's brother Frankie rushed in and held his dying brother. In those final moments, Marvin whispered something that still haunts his family. "I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I had him do it. It's good. I ran my race. There's no more left in me." Police arrived 20 minutes later. They found the gun under Marvin Sr.'s pillow. He was sitting on the front porch when they arrested him. Marvin was pronounced dead at the hospital at 1:01 p.m. The news broke on April Fool's Day, so some people thought it was a cruel joke. But the tragedy was all too real. In court, Marvin Sr. claimed self-defense. He said he didn't know the gun was loaded and didn't mean to kill his son. He pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter and got a suspended sentence with 5 years of probation. The headlines called Marvin Gaye a junkie. They focused on his drug use and erratic behavior, but they missed the bigger picture. His addiction wasn't a moral failing. It was how he tried to cope with a lifetime of pain. Think about it this way. When Marvin was in Belgium, away from all his triggers, he got clean. He created beautiful music. But when he came back to the source of his trauma, he relapsed. This shows that his problems went much deeper than just drugs. His music tells the real story. What's going on came from his pain about war and social injustice. Sexual healing was about his desire to feel whole again. Every song was a piece of his broken heart trying to heal. The intersection of his personal pain and the world's pain created something magical. His childhood abuse, his depression, his addiction, all of it became fuel for music that touched millions of people. His voice was so powerful because it came from real suffering. When he sang about needing healing, he meant it. When he sang about what was going on in the world, he felt it in his bones. Marvin Gaye wasn't destroyed by drugs. He was destroyed by trauma that started when he was just a little boy. The drugs were just how he tried to survive the pain. His music lives on because it's honest. Every note carries the weight of his struggles. Every word reflects his search for peace and love. In 1987, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His influence on music continues today. Artists still try to capture the raw emotion he put into every song. The man who seemed destroyed by drugs actually left us something beautiful. His pain became our healing. His struggle became our strength. Marvin Gaye's story isn't about a junkie who threw his life away. It's about a human being who turned his deepest wounds into the most beautiful art. That's not destruction, that's transformation.